The last time we were here in Jeddah for Tier 2, the podium was made up of a driver who's no longer here in RPL, Dara. He also was a race winner a while back in RPL, took his second and last win to date. The driver who is also going to be joining me on commentary tonight, but no longer can, Florian, a runner-up in the RPL Championship, and a driver who is disliked by many, but started his success in RPL by getting his first podium in this race 3 seasons ago, Blue Gagi. So if that's a sign of things to come, and he did it in a Haas, if that's a sign of things to come, we've got quite the race on our hands tonight here in Jeddah for Tier 2. And considering the fact it's been the highest DNF rate 2 times now in Tier 1, in the last 28 events ran since the start of the game cycle, then we've got a chaotic one on our hands tonight. Welcome along, folks. I'm Ryan Searles, and I'm your commentator for tonight. And we're racing under the lights for the 3rd week in a row. And second of the street circuits under the lights. This one always seems to be a mixed one amongst the drivers. Some drivers like the circuit, some drivers don't. And some just know, even if they don't like it, that they just need to survive, and that's going to be the case a lot in tonight's race. With that being said, we'll go over tons of things in just a moment, but I want to mention, expect a dry race tonight. However, do not count out the fact that it can rain around this circuit. I was just watching back not too long ago the Season 12 running of this race in F2. And during that weekend, it was raining in, I believe, the sprint race. So it's not impossible like one of the circuits we run into like Bahrain or Abu Dhabi or even Qatar. But it's still a rarity to have some rain around the circuit. And we've only had it once, to my knowledge, in RPL. And I ran in that race, and I actually had a really good battle in the wet with a fellow driver named Sam Steed, my teammate at the time in Ferrari Academy. So, like I said, it's not impossible around the circuit. It is possible, but don't expect it just because it's a very small chance. Slightly different compared to a Bahrain or Abu Dhabi, like I was saying, though. But we got nighttime this time, compared to Tier 1, which was in sunset conditions. We got a lot of storylines on hand for tonight's event. Let's take a moment to go over that before our championship standings. By the way, welcome along, chat. Good to see you, Beatnik and Invade. Welcome back to the Tier 2 Grid Invade. We've got some streaks ongoing from some teams that we need to mention. We've got Mercedes, 6 consecutive podiums with a driver change there. We'll see if they can continue that run tonight. 32 races ago was the last time in May of 2023, Season 8, Round 7, that Red Bull did not score any points in a Tier 2 race. We're going to see if that happens once again tonight on whether or not they can continue the streak that's ongoing. With that being said, of those streaks that are ongoing, circuit like tonight in Jeddah, circuit like Tier 1 tomorrow in Monaco, can easily ruin those type of streaks that a driver or a team is going to be wanting to keep for their academy. Ferrari's the only team to have 2 cars on the podium in a Season 11 race. We'll see if that continues or not as well. And the only other streak I have in terms of academies or teams is Alpine. They've had points in only the day races this season, from round one to round 4. Round 5 and 6, most recently, have been night races. We'll see on whether or not they can break that streak here tonight in Jeddah. So, amongst other things, we've got Zatsi and Owen, who swap spots. Zatsi is now in Mercedes, getting promoted due to his good runs in 5 of the 6 races so far. Owen demoted because he's been too fast for a top car in RPL recently. The admin team had their little say in that. So, obviously, Owen has to settle for Williams now. Knights had his Tier 2 contract terminated. He's going to be racing Tier 1 because he couldn't make the Tier 2 times anymore. JTK on a Williams loan, and Vade on AlphaTauri. Kippu for Red Bull, Shanghai and Aston. And Leighton is a part of Alfa Romeo. Time to go on board with him for our first flying lap here. As he heads to the S section, this is a tricky one. The curbs are a little bit different than previous games, so you have to be very aware of that. He's got a car in front of him. That's an Aston Martin. Hopefully going to get out of his way. Not yet going to get out of the way. This is going to get treacherous. This is Shanghai. Going to be a blockage on Leighton. Shanghai needs to get out of the way, and Shanghai finally does get out of the way, but could be facing the steward's office later on. Leighton comes through the chicane right there. Now the back straight where he's going to pick up some DRS and a slipstream from a Ferrari-powered car in front. The sector split will be up right now for Leighton. 0-8. Ferrari goes off trying to give him some slipstream and does so once again. This is not going to affect Leighton at all as he runs toward turn 27. That Ferrari is helping him tons. He comes to the final corner with tons of speed now. 2:05 for a split second. Leighton slides the car into turn 27 and out of turn 27. He's going to be the first one to cross the line. He will set a 28-1, and this is going to be crucial laps because J&T has notified us that it's going to rain at the end of Q1 for the rest of qualifying. Something to spice things up, to say the least. Leighton is not the only one to start a lap or go on a lap. We've got more drivers coming across the line. Beatnik is one of them. Tadpole is coming across the line soon. Bulugagi is on an outlap. Owen's on an outlap. J&T is coming across the final corner. How about we watch another Alfa Romeo? Since we watched one already, we will watch another one. Zatsi top of the board. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm by myself tonight. So Twitch chat, don't disappoint. Give us some action. Let us know what you think of our drivers who are racing tonight. J&T avoiding the turn 4 wall, which Bourbon ended up heading himself into, DNFing out of the session in qualifying. Wavy hit it in the race in Tier 1 as well. J&T coming to the end of the sector split here. Mick Schumacher had a big off there in real life in 2022. Couldn't race this race because of it. Withdrew from the event, making it 19 cars. Then Sonoda had a failure, making it 18 cars. Chicane now for J&T. It's an easy place to lose or gain time, and there's going to be a lot of that around the circuit tonight, but just remember in esports, there was a massive collision there in that corner that resulted in some DNFs. We're going to see some DNFs surely tonight here, no doubt in my mind about it. Chicane that starts Sector 3, got an Alpine in the wall, but here comes J&T as Bonker sets a lap. That's top of the board. J&T's going to have the run toward turn 27. to decide here. Does he want to brake late? Does he want to brake early? How does he set this up? Now he comes out of the corner. Max Verstappen hit the wall there. JNT just clunked the wall just a little bit, nicking it. Wavy's out of the session. He is crashed, but JNT comes across the line. He will be behind teammate Leighton. Next up to complete a lap or start one will be Bulgogi. Let's see what the Malta driver can do. Can Bulgogi find a way into the next round of qualifying? He's going to need to soon, as the cloud cover will come across the track soon enough to cause some rain and some issues at the end of the session, which is why it's vital to get a lap in here. Here comes Bulgogi with the ending bits of the S's. Those curbs can be deadly. He already saw a little slide from it. He's got to be careful he doesn't slide anymore. 32.9 to end the first sector. Now he comes to the banked turn here. Number 41 on his hands. Not running 14, his favorite number, because Fernando Alonso already occupies that number. Yellow flags from the car behind him. But Bulgogi, if there's anyone who knows the circuit from previous game cycles, it's him. He's had a podium here. And since then, he's added 2 to his name in RPL F2. 1 in the last ever race of F2. In the last ever season. 1 in China that same season. His first in F2. He's wiggling the car a little bit, struggling. It's not up to full temperature on this AlphaTauri, but he needs to find time to get himself into Q2 with rain approaching later on. Turn 27. Just got one more DRS zone left to wide open that rear wing. Here he comes. Does that just now. Using a bit of that white line across the line. He will be 12th. Slowest of the guys with representative laps, but he shouldn't panic too early because he does have one more chance, I think, before the rain does come. Got more guys on outlaps trying to get out there. More guys going to start laps here soon. Valk is one of the girls starting lap. Hunted on a outlap. So is Polo. So is Beatnik. A couple Alpine Academy cars. Gecko is on a lap. Let's watch him. Gecko, a bridesmaid the last 2 weeks here in Tier 2. 2 runner-up finishes, 3 consecutive podiums. Trying to make it 4 here tonight. Let's see if he can do so. He's won for Ferrari in FE. He's won for Ferrari in F1. He's trying to add his name to that list of winners in Tier 2. With Ferrari this time as well. Would be nice to do so. He's up on the time in Sector 2. What bravery does he send this final corner with? Turn 27. Little snap. Nothing too severe. He'll come to the line and easily be top 10, but where in the top 10? 5th place. Had Pool a nice surprise. Both Alfa Romeos a nice surprise. Owen down to 11th on those mediums. Next up in front of that is a driver who's got a lot of experience in Tier 2. 5 of the last 5 seasons in a row. He's been on the podium. Beatnik on a lap now in Saudi Arabia. Good to see them allowing an American in this country to race. They've already allowed one in the commentary box, so it's good to see Beatnik here on a lap now. Through the S section he comes. Again, Gecko made a save here in the, I think, the first ever planned running of this race, which got canceled due to Wavy Knife going up in the air and flipping, taking flight. That was helped due to current F3 driver who raced in RPL before, Joe Loke. And, Beatnik was the one out of this race at the time that had caused that actually to kind of happen. Everyone was trying to avoid the DNF cars of his. But here he comes to the sector split. Obviously 21 seconds down from the top time. He's going to have to surely find a lot of time. I mean, we know he's backed out of the first lap, so not representative that one. This one is, and he's got traffic to negotiate his way through. He's got a Mercedes, he's got a Ferrari. Both in front. Valk is going to have to get her way through it. She does. Polo's invalidated. Beatnik's now got to navigate his way through that Ferrari. He will maybe get a tow. Only gain 1,000 from it. Uses the white line to come to the line. Valk is 8th. Beatnik is 4th. And where does Hunted go? Hunted is next. Polo aborts the lap. He is currently out of qualifying in that bottom 3 area. And this is treacherous to Polo's name before this rain comes. Purple for Hunted. Sliding. Almost losing it. now he approaches turn 27. J&T Gaming believes he's safe. So does his teammate ETSR Layton prior to that. Now, Hunted. 8 poles since the start of Season 10. It's not been the start to Season 11 that he would have wanted, but he's got a chance to change things around tonight. It all starts in qualifying. To the line, it will be 8th place. He should be safe into the next round of qualifying. Tadpole and Zatsy believe they're safe as well. Kipu is up on the time for Red Bull. Can he cross the line and be up further? Yes, he can. How about a Red Bull 1-2 tonight? The driver who's not had a podium in Tier 2 whatsoever since he came into the league at the start of the F1 23 game cycle. Kipu has a good chance to change things tonight with reserving for Red Bull. Technically reserving for the team, but he's full-time in AlphaTauri. Trying to make his name heard tonight, that's for sure. We got Shanghai, who I believe is starting a lap. Further on back, we got Valkyrie, who's entering the pit lane. Hunted, invalidated. Beatnik into the pits. Kipu into the pits. And now on a lap, Blue Goggy. I want to watch this because this is a part of our bottom 3 and a driver who is at risk, needing to improve. And let's see if he can do so. He has tons of experience around this circuit, but in a car that is slowest of them all, he needs to find time. The best thing about this car tonight will be the straight line speed. That's for sure. Let's see if he can find a way past that and end up getting himself in the top 15. George is retired from the session, and we got more to come. Blue Goggy banked hairpin there. What can he do? What can he do? Can he find a way in a Q2 tonight? Can he find a way past the rain that's upcoming in our session later on? And speaking of the rain, it's already here. He's got to find time in the last sector with the rain approaching now. Invade's on an outlap as well. Invade needs to get out of qualifying. And if Invade does improve, along with Goggy, that will knock Owen, our championship leader, out of qualifying. How crazy is that? Invade not anywhere close to starting a lap, so this rain is going to affect him. However, Blue Goggy comes across the line and knocks the teammate out of qualifying. Invade is currently out. And now, Invade needs to improve. And so does Owen, who is on the bubble. He is 15th place, and almost everybody retiring except for the guys in the bottom 3 in pace, still out on track. Bottom 3 in pace being Goggy, Owen, and Invade, but bottom 3 being eliminated in that relegation zone would include Polo, Wavy, and Invade now, who's trying to make his name heard here. And now Invade, let's see if there's any improvement here. He goes off, and this is going to likely be invalidated, or one that he backs off of, and the track is starting to get wet. He's a second down, and he's backed out of it. Owen may not need this lap at all now. Goggy, one of 3 competitors still left on the circuit. He is likely safe now. The one that's at risk is Owen, but may not be too much of a risk now. With that being said, rain in Jeddah, we said it's uncommon and it's rare, but not as rare as 3 of our circuits in the Middle East, like Qatar, Bahrain, Abu Dhabi. And it's proving itself tonight here. We had rain in the Season 12 running of this race in F2. We have rain tonight in qualifying, which is going to hinder our drivers and everything for sure. It is not equal cars. It is realistic cars, to answer your question in chat. This is a realistic performance league. RPL. And Invade is heading to the pit lane, meaning Owen can do so now. And this will likely be the end of qualifying. Invade eliminated. He is part of that bottom 3 out of qualifying. Polo is 2. Wavy is 2. And Owen is finding out for Williams in 15th place behind his teammate JTK on loan that Owen demoted down to Williams after being too fast for a top car in RPL. still being a part of Tier 2, being the championship leader, but proving that he knows how to get through by the skin of his teeth here in qualifying. 2 minutes left. This is going to be it. JTK is out on track. I don't know why. There's no need to improve now. You're into the next round. Don't risk it and crash the car. Invade says he can't be asked, wants to eat his food. Well, I would want to eat my food too after a lap that went very poorly and get a nice little break here and get to watch the following drivers in Q2 and Q3. Owen's giving us a little bit of a show. He's flapping his right wing. Owen, this is not Flappy Bird. But hopefully that Flappy Bird on the rear of his car can head back to the pit lane and not crash the car in it and advance. Bulgogi, retired. Believes he's safe. Owen, back to the pits. JTK, I'm sure he'll be the next one. No, why is he still onto the circuit? The drivers will surely be frustrated by this because you're not going to improve, for one. Two, you're also into the next round. Why risk it and crash? You're going to make yourself look silly. And for third of all, there's only a minute left in this session. Why not save a minute by retiring since you're safe? If he crashes, he will definitely make a fool of himself. But just want to mention, it's good to see him back in the grid, JTK, because I think it was after Canada. It was either after Canada, round 3, or the round after that, when he didn't race in Japan. Actually, he is improving, so impressive by him, but you're risking crashing the car here, so there's really no point. But just to add my little 2 cents in on JTK, he was in Red Bull Academy previously, and he still is, but he was demoted to a reserve due to lack of performance, and he was running top 6 most of his races. He was finishing the race, doing what he needed to, but he wasn't exceeding any expectations. He was runner-up a couple of times, on podium as well a couple of times, but he was not winning, which if you're a part of Red Bull full-time, you need to be winning. Bonkers won already for Red Bull in his stint with them. Maybe not this season, but he's won. Cindrix has been on the front row, but he's only been here for 3 races. Hunted won a championship for Red Bull. There's also other drivers in RPL who've won for Red Bull in other tiers as well, too. Zach won on his debut. So, if you're a part of Red Bull, you need to be winning. But JTK was not winning, and he was not doing what the contract said, so he has been dropped to a reserve since then. That's why he's reserving and on loan for Williams tonight, and reasonably so. He's going to retire from the session now, and he is safely through, but he just wasted 2 minutes by doing that and had to risk a crash in the car. So really, there was no point. He could have also crossed the line and would have saved us some time, but I'm sure he's frustrating some of our drivers, that's for sure. We'll find out from the driver's chat who is most frustrated now. Oh boy. See guys, it does rain in the desert. It's only raining in the pits. Bro, JTK, just retire. That's about it. Not many comments from the drivers. Drivers being not as displeasure-like as I would have thought. But good to see. Some respect from our drivers here in RPL Tier 2. Here is your order from Q1 with Q2, Q3 still approaching us. We've got Bonkers and Kippu making it a Red Bull 1-2, but with rain approaching, that can easily change in Q2. George, if he wins tonight, he could become the driver with the most wins without anyone sharing the record with him, without a title in RPL Tier 2. Tadpole and Beatnik round out the top 5. Nice surprises from Leighton and J&T, but I think a disappointment comes from Owen and Valk here, 10th and 15th. Bottom 3 and eliminated involves Invade, Polo God, and Wavy. Wavy's not had the best stints around the circuit. Polo God has had a Tier 1 race here done on this game cycle already. And Invade, not the best of showings from him. Slowest of them all in qualifying. And now, I don't think anyone's going to go out right away. So we're going to take a small 30-second break here before start of Q2 running on this circuit. Time for Q2, and it looks like the rain is coming down even worse to where the drivers know they have to get out immediately. And we're seeing a race against time. How about a repeat of, oh boy, we're about to see a collision. A repeat of Baku, Tier 1, couple weeks ago in Q2. Two main drivers and champions and teams, McLaren and Mercedes, with Luke and Scyther, crashed out of the session, and both Mercedes cars were eliminated because TB was slow and not on pace. Everybody is out on the circuit right now, and it really is a race against time. The Ferrari of George splitting Shanghai, and I think the other Ferrari of Gecko wants to do the same, and we're about to see a collision right here. If we're not careful, this is going to get treacherous. George is leading a train, and it does still look like a race against time here. Valk's in on this train, I think. She's at the back of it. Bonkers as well. Yellow flags. Everybody is not caring about the gentleman's code, but it's now time for laps. Our first one is Beatnik. And let's see how he can go around the circuit for McLaren. Coming across the line. He is now in turn 4. And now in the S's, where he needs to perfect this section. Don't touch those curves too much, especially in the wet. But that curb you want to touch, this curb you want to touch on the outside. Don't bounce over it, though. You could get your car stuck on it. And times are already digressing from Q1. Tadpole, the last one across the line. We'll see how that affects him. Banked hairpin for Beatnik now. Now a chicane to approach. How does he handle it? Looks okay. He's not sliding at all, but still, these drivers know you got to take this circuit a little bit more careful than you previously were. And Minako already feeling reminded of Baku. I would agree. Beatnik at the sector split 1-9, so time's digressing by about maybe 2 seconds at the very most. However, the conditions, as we all know it, from what we've been told, is only going to get worse. Here's Beatnik. Into the final corner. And out of the final corner. No issue for him. But he needs to set a good time across the line, because this could be the only time we hit this session for him. 29.6. Next is JTK. Looks okay. JNT is also crossing the line later on. Zatsi is across the line now. A pack of cars who have followed one another on their laps now crossing the line. George is 4th. Valk is 5th. Gecko's fastest. JNT clocks in a time. The Red Bull Bonkers clocks in a time. Hunted's also coming up across the line too. The AlphaTauri Agaki slowest of them all. The Williams, I don't think it did cross the line. He was 9th. Hunted 12th. He had a mistake on that lap. Kipu's aborted. He had validated. Tadpole now across the line. Tadpole have an okay lap, but it could have been better. And right now, we could be seeing Hunted and Kipu, two guys in big name cars, eliminated from this session if things stand as they are. Whoa! Both Mercedes cars almost came to collision. And Kipu's not feeling so great about that lap, to say the least. And Hunted, I believe, is on a new lap. And we have a spinner that was the Ferrari. So that Ferrari entering some problems. Either George or Gecko. Either way, right now, safely into the next round of qualifying. They should be breathing a little bit better. However, Hunted's breathing with a lot of concerns. Comes to the sector split now. Is this up on the time? You bet it is a second. And he lost a lot of that time in the last sector then. Because he's now going to be finding all this time in the last sector. Across the line, I think, was somebody or just pitting. I couldn't tell if someone did cross the line, but it looked like someone did improve. Maybe they didn't. However, here we go. Drivers entering the pit lane. Some not. The one who's not, and the one who's going to cross the line to complete this lap is Hunted, who is now safely through and is knocking Owen to the bottom 5. Next up is Shanghai. One of the tricky things about the circuit is it's easy to invalidate in certain areas, so you have to be wary of where to push, when to push, and how to push. Shanghai's improving, but is it enough? Right now, only enough to gain 1 place. If he continues, he can solidify himself in the top 10, but George feels he's safe in that top 10. Two tenths. He's finding more. But once again, will it be enough? He's got a Red Bull to find his way around here. Might pick up a slight toe. That'll gain him a couple thousands. I doubt we'll see anybody doing any slipstream games here in this session with it being filled with rain. But again, not enough rain for Inter tires. Shanghai is only 11th. And this will now be a concern for Aston Martin, trying to get at least 1 car into Q3. Right now, they're relying on Shanghai. Kipu's now on a lap. Turn 1, 2, and now 3. A section where you couldn't validate for track limits. Could easily go wide. That's a turn where you can hit the wall. Track limits as well a factor. He's got a car to approach. That's the Aston offline. Again, more tricky areas for track limits. More easy places to lose the rear. See Kipu's taking it very carefully, just simply trying to get a lap in. But I think he's not finding time compared to the guys who need to. I think anybody from George up is surely safe. By the way, props to Zatsi for the first start in a Mercedes in a long, long while, being up in that top 6. I think J&T is just maybe barely safe for now, but he is thinking he is, so we'll take his word for it for now. Kipu's still got room to improve. We'll find out what the middle sector's like. 2-6. That's not great, but you got to consider the conditions aren't any better either. So now he approaches turn 27, hoping that it's enough time to be inside the top 10 and giving Red Bull some hope. He was praised by Cryptic before the FE race, saying, when drivers aren't here, you will get more chances in Red Bull. That chance comes tonight, but if he wants to have a chance for a first podium, you got to be inside the top 10, and currently, he is not inside the top 10. He's just barely out of it. He has to find more time. I've said this time and time again, Kipu's one of these drivers who is not so fast, but he tends to keep his car clean. And maybe that's what you have to do tonight, but with conditions worsening, I would not want to start in the midfield for this race. I'm going to tell you that right now. Because that is exactly where you can easily get involved in an accident, and I would not be surprised if that's the case. Might be too wet, off by 600ths. I think now is where you're getting toward the crossover period, and Q3 is where you're going to see it hinder these drivers. Some guys on laps, some guys not. Tadpole's on one. We'll watch some others. Hunt is on an outlap. Who's closest to coming across the line to complete one? We've got Owen. This will be tasty. He needs to improve, and he's up by 4 tenths. Inters are 2.9 off being faster, so it's getting close. If we see it, it's going to be likely approaching by Q3. But now Owen for Williams crosses the line, and he's into the top 10. So now Kippen will have to do a little bit more as well. An edge closer up to the top 10. He's on an in-lap, it looks like, unless he's on a rechargeable lap. We've got an AlphaTauri as well, Blugagi, who is coming through Sector 3 now. Bulgogi, I feel like, has kind of transitioned to a period where he's kept his car a little bit more clean. He's not one of the fastest drivers as we've seen as well in Tier 2, but not as many accidents. A little bit better in his survival rate. But not looking like he's going to get through to Q3 as of the current moment. We've got Tadpole, who's down, aborted the lap. This is not looking good for him. Hunted is on an outlap, gonna try to improve. I think Gecko's out there to maybe see what the conditions are like at this point, because I don't see him improving. And I don't think he's on a push lap unless he went for a lap originally, backed out, then came back to charge up again, save battery, and now go for one. But the problem is, I don't think that's the case, because he is now pitting and backed out of that one. Beatnik is retired as well. Soft's just faster by 2.8, so yeah, it is slowing down. I am just slow, and I am learning, says Invade. Well, you know what? You know what they always say? If you don't race around fast drivers, how are you ever going to get faster? And I agree with that quote, and I think Hunted might not agree to see that we've just caught him invalidating. Maybe a commentator's curse. Of course, when we watch somebody, it seems like they invalidate, but Hunted. On the bad side of things, Tadpole is down by 0.3. I don't think you're going to improve like that, but the only one I see improving from this bottom 5 right now and getting into the next round of qualifying, just because the speed of that car and maybe mistakes on their lap, is Kipu. But you still have to find so much time, though. 2.5 tenths to Owen. Your championship leader. So, it's now or never. It is crunch time. Kip is wondering why nothing goes right when he's in this Red Bull. Well, yeah, that is a fair point to make. I think Tadpole's just trying to race to get across the line and start a new lap. Or just so frustrated he might go back to the pits and retire. Leighton is coming through the first sector. S section now. You can see it's more trickier in the rain. Mounts that curb, goes wide. This will be it for him. Shanghai on a lap for Aston Martin. Let's take some time to go over the championship standings. There's not much to mention, but we should definitely not ignore it. Shanghai's in the wall and somehow did not pick up a lot of damage. I don't even think he picked up anything. That's impressive. This is how tricky these conditions can be, and we're now just seeing it. We'll watch Kipu, but we're now going to go over our standings. Owen has an 89-point lead over Gecko. Over 100 points over Lennon and Bonkers, who are 3rd and 4th. Kipu is absolutely struggling. Mercedes and the Constructors lead Ferrari by a 30-something point gap. So Mercedes still have to perform tonight with Valk and Zatsi. Is possible. Red Bull is 3rd. Oh, Kipu saved it. I think he saved it, but I don't think he's going to be improving. Yeah, he's 5 tenths down. This track is continuing to digress, and I think we might have our bottom 5 settled. McLaren are 4th, and by the way, last in the constructor standings, getting some points in the recent weeks, AlphaTauri. They really needed it, and they've had 2 races where they've scored points this season now, compared to only 1 last season. 5 points, bottom of the table. And let's find out if they can. Oh, Kipu again. Good car control from his end, but I just think he's trying a last-ditch effort here to get through to the next round of qualifying, and it's not working. I couldn't see what his time was in the middle sector, but doesn't look like it's going to be enough to get through. And if he somehow did, fair enough to him. He deserves the credit, but this is it. Shanghai is on a lap for last hope. Bulgogi is backing off and just trying to get himself going to start a lap, but as Kipu said, and I think it's the same way for these drivers too, it's Joe over. And it is over, I think, for these two. It's over for 3 of the bottom 5 currently, made up of Tadpole, Kipu, and Leighton. That's 3 different academies. We're about to add a 4th one with Shanghai. Shanghai is down and not improving. There's no point of going on a lap here. We're going to watch Bulgogi. enter turn 4. He hits the wall, and he is heading out of this session. Now it's down to Shanghai. If Shanghai can somehow pull some magic in the second sector, he can find a way to improve, but the track is heading toward the crossover period between inners and softs, and it's not anywhere likely he will improve. He's down by 5 seconds. Shanghai just wants his moment. Well, to be fair to Shanghai, he had a nice little moment there in FE and Zandvoort in the rain where he got P8 for Williams. So a reserve appearance tonight in Tier 2 in Aston Martin is some hope to guide them up in the Constructors table. Where is Valk in the championship? Well, we don't always mention our back markers, so we'll get to that in a little bit. But your bottom 5's now decided. Shanghai's in it. Goggy's in it. But now top of the board is Gecko. It's a interesting top 5 because we've got 5 different constructors in the top 5 here. Made up of Gecko, Bonkers, Zatsy, Beatnik, and JTK. Ferrari, Merc, McLaren, and Williams. We'll get a second car into the next round of qualifying. Also, fair play to J&T for Alfa Romeo. Once again, outperforming that car. Teams outside of Ferrari Academy are looking to possibly sign him for Season 12 of Tier 2. Approaching us in 7 weeks' time. Still got time to decide. We already know our bottom 5, but with that being said, I was just about to mention that Invade 2 Williams into Q3. That's the second time that's happened this game cycle. It's the second tier it's happened, and it's the second street circuit it's happened on. And both times it's happened, it involved a little bit of rain to spice things up. Here's Q3. Get us your predictions in now, chat. We're now going to go through what the strategy will look like for tonight's event. So, expect if... Okay, I need this confirmation quickly from 2 of our drivers in chat. Invade and Valk, please tell me it's a dry race before I go on about any of the following strategies. We have mediums to hards being a possibility. Hards to softs, revert strategy is also possible. Hards to soft is supposed to be a Hail Mary, but I'm going to say our Hail Mary is a mediums to soft because 2 drivers did it in Tier 1. Mainly Cookie, who made it work to perfection. But there's no shown data on it just because it's rare on this circuit. But it is possible, clearly shown by the Tier 1 race. And softs and mediums do get punctured territory around 10 to 12 laps for softs, 14 to 17 for mediums. But your tires wear so quickly on softs especially to where I don't think you want to be that on them for a long period of time. You're just going to lose so much speed. You lose 18 seconds to the pit lane tonight, and you gain back about 20%. But now's our time to put some predictions in chat. The track is fully wet, and it might not get any better. So this might be it for qualifying. Our only laps potentially here. And here we go. JTK will be the first one to start us off, and this could be the best thing for Williams, with Williams heritage surrounding us with both cars in Q3 tonight. Medium stuff is only viable if you're in a car with first to fourth best tire wear. Gotcha. Thank you for the note there, Minico. Now time to start us some laps. Yellow flags at the final corner for drivers backing off and trying to distance each other, or distance from one another, but now turn 1 we go. Using a lot of curbs as JTK. I don't know if that's what you want to do, but maybe it'll help you in the wet. Here he comes, turn 3, turn 4 now. This inside wall can be tricky, so he's kind of gone with a wider line. Gonna ride this curb with everything he can. A little bit of wide line in the S's, but he's just trying to stay off these curbs, which could send you straight. It already happened once with ETSR lane. Don't want to repeat it. He's already doing a nice first sector, but we gotta wonder, will the lap times digress more than it already is? 34.9, banked hairpin, inside curb, outside wall, right there, right now. Now, we're already approaching turn 16, the chicane, with 3 corners in it, where you easily can make a mistake. And JTK, I think, Not pushing 100% because you just don't know how easy it is to lose the car here, but I think he's pushing as much as he can, being right next to that wall. Turn 22 approaching us now. 4-9. Using a bit of that curb, easy to invalidate there too. You don't want to go off unless you're letting someone go. Now riding the inside curbs, approaching turn 27 now. What does JTK have left in the back to show us in qualifying? Is it enough for provisional pole, and can he keep it? Turn 27, he exits now, and coming across the line, he will come. Will he set provisional pole and keep it? JTK, our benchmark, 33-4. Beatnik improves, 33-1. How about Owen, 33-0? He was surely sandbagging. How about Gecko, 32-7? More drivers coming across the line. Zatsy was one of them for P2. Next is the Red Bull of Bonkers. Needs something good to happen. How about provisional pole? He sets his name to the top of the board, but Hunted can only manage 6th. Our driver with the most poles since the start of Season 10. Valk, nice showing for the female driver here. 4th place, Mercedes 3-4. George has invalidated, and that might be it from him as he's exiting turn 27 and entering the pit lane. With Owen showing right now, he is going to tie Williams' best qualifying effort this game cycle. Not only for all tiers, but for Tier 2. Singapore Tier 2, the last time there was a qualifying this good by Williams. But it depends on what the drivers can do. Our track evolution, is it improving? It's digressing. We got drivers invalidating their lap times, I think. Just simply wanted to maybe get back to the pits. We'll find out. JTK is going to come across the line next. We'll see if he's on a push lap or not. I don't think he is. But it is possible some of these guys do end up running second laps here. My God, welcome to the server, Vanquisher. I've not raced with you in quite a while, a couple of years. Good to see you. No second laps from anybody, but the guy who's going to need a lap right now is the Welsh driver in Ferrari Academy, George Alp Williams on PC for the 2nd week now. Welcome, Vanquisher. Good to see you. I'm so glad to see people I used to league race with in this chat. I really am. Spot on from Invade's top 3 right now. We've got Bonkers, Gecko, Zatsy. Zatsy reminds me a bit of George Russell, not Williams right now. With going to Mercedes. Not too far in front of the teammate. Now Mercedes. At Williams, he was pretty good in comparison to his teammate in all but one race, which, if you look at George Russell's Williams stint, he wasn't perfect. Everyone made him out to be perfect in that Williams, but he had really good qualifying. Zatsy's not had the best of qualifying, but he's had better races. And considering George Russell's stats at Williams comparison to Zatsy, I would say it's similar because George Russell would have good races more than not, and Zatsy's only bad race from Williams came last week, and it was mainly because he underfueled a lot. But now, I really do wonder, are track limits digressing even worse? Do we see any track evolution here? Track is bad, we'll find out. George will be the first one to tell us. Based on this lap, let's find out. 7th gear, 8th gear, up the gears he goes, and now on a lap. 5 minutes to go. He will be one to complete a lap, hopefully, and make it 10 different guys with a lap of our 10 available in Q3. But he needs to find time inside that top 5 if there's any track evolution, I feel. And it would be good to get him near his teammate. We're not going to go on board with him just yet. We're going to see what this first sector is once he comes across it. 35-2. I don't think that's great, but I don't think that's too much worse. I want to check what the other first sectors were like just to make sure. 34-2, 34-7. Yeah, that's not so great from George, so I think there's a chance that this could be it. We'll find out. There's still 2 more sectors to go, and he's coming across the second sector now. Uh, 5-1. Not looking much better, but if he is somehow able to sneak his way ahead of JTK and J&T, that would be great to see. The Ferrari of his teammate Gecko gets out the way just in time. Still DRS online for these conditions, so it's not terrible. But Inters are 6/10 off being the faster tire, so we know it's not long till DRS gets disabled and George comes across the line. He is slowest of them all, but not by a whole lot, so fair credit to him. It's just luck of the draw with the mistake he made in comparison to where he was before. We have a Mercedes coming across the first sector now of Zatsi. I want to see where this compares, regardless of the lap time invalidated. It's 2/10 down, so regardless, even if that lap was valid, he still would be nowhere. Well, I think if anyone thought those first laps were their first laps, I think guys who have to be happy with the way things have gone is it's now just about time for inners. Would include the likes of Owen, maybe even just JTK to be involved in this session. I would add as well Valka, really good qualifying from her. Fair credit, she deserves that. Zatsi for Mercedes, and Bonkers, who was looking at a Red Bull pole tonight. And if he does take a Red Bull pole out of all this, second one of the season for them, and second pole for him this season, if he could just hang on with 2 minutes left to go. Not going to discount everything out just yet, because a lot can still happen. And Owen is choosing to destroy his front wing now, realizing his hopes are all over and dashed. Zatsi's out, JTK's out, Owen's doing some donuts here. Is anybody crossing the line now? Gecko's invalidated, George is on a lap. But he's like entering the pit lane, I think. I agree with that invade, but I think this is it. We'll find out in a little bit here. I don't think everyone feels that way, but I think it is it for qualifying in Q3. Let's find out who still chooses to go with a lap. Owen has crashed out, and he has gone in the air for good measure. Hunted on a lap now, but I doubt it will be enough. I'm doubting you, Hunted, but please prove me wrong if you can. Hunted comes through the first sector. We're going to find out if he's finding time or not on soft tires. He's down by 2/10, so that's not actually as bad as I thought. Hunted, you're giving me some hope, and I think it's false hope, though. But 3 drivers are left to make some drastic changes in this session. We're going to find out if they do so. Hunted's off, and his hopes are done. Valk is down by 9/10. She's on what likely could be the faster tire now. To give you reference, Vanquisher, I know you're new here, but for anyone who's new, obviously give us a follow, because you like League Racing, and that's probably why you're here. Or you want to watch me give you some lovely commentary. I don't know which one it is. It's up to you guys to decide. But for those of you who are new, reminder, it is a realistic performance league, so the fact that a Williams right now is in P5 is good credit from Owen, and this is really good hope for tonight. I mean, in the season 8 running of this race, the last time we were here for Tier 2, we had a Haas on podium. I think that says it all with the way this race could go tonight. Not only was a Haas on podium, but, you know, Haas was flying in the air in this race once. There's been a lot of retirements in this race previously before in Tier 1's running of this race in Season 9 and Season 10. And Beatnik is now pirouetting out of the final corner. And I think this is it from him. So conditions have got worse. Track evolution hasn't happened at all. So what this means is, this is it from qualifying, and that 3/10 gap that Bonkers had, he could be safe with because he's on pole position for the second time this season. He hasn't won since the end of season 9, so maybe tonight, with Owen not in a Mercedes and transferring over to Williams, the worst car, the slowest car of the Mercedes Academy, we'll find out if Bonkers makes anything of it this time, with his chance now in the Red Bull to perform the best of his ability. He's fastest. He will start on pole position. Behind him is Gecko, who, again, just seems to constantly be second. He's just always going to be second, it seems, as of recent. Zatsi is third. Nice showing for Mercedes. Valk is fourth. Second of the Merc Academy cars. Owen, a very nice showing from Williams, being P5, the championship leader, is starting very well. Then Beatnik, then Hunted, then J&T, then JTK, who's right near J&T. 2 good showings there. And George, just bad luck at the draw. Not it from him. Unfortunate. Now it's time for the race. We'll talk some strategy and some stuff. Looks to be dry race from what we've been told. But at the end of the day, things can change. It is the F123 game where we do get tricked sometimes too. I'm going to quickly go for a bathroom break. 30 seconds I will be, and I'll be back by the start. Give us your predictions, though, in the meantime, chat. Well, get your predictions in. Drivers editing last-minute changes to their setups, adjusting fuel in case of any safety cars, and seeing what strategy they want to be on for tonight's event. 25 laps ahead of the drivers under the lights here in Saudi. It's now time to find out who will do what. Yeah, the Williams P5 is the Irish driver who is leading the Drivers' Championship and trying to win another title here in Tier 2. He's got 17 wins to his name. If he can get one of Williams, biggest upset in RPL history? Question mark? It's Saudi Arabia. We saw some crazy things happen the last time we came here. Tier 2, Season 8 saw Blue Goggy on the podium, and it was his only one for Tier 2. Only one in RPL up until the last season of F2 where he added 2 more. One of the drivers who are an outcast in RPL for sure. Not one of our fastest, but he did it in a car that's not fast either. So it shows tonight's race could be filled with chaos. So far this season, we've only had 2 winners. Can we add a third tonight? The lights are coming on now. And here we are. 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go. Off the line, Bonkers goes, and he got a decent start. He's going to cover off the Ferrari beautifully. Now the Ferrari's battling second place with the Mercedes, where the other Mercedes of Velk is caught with Owen. And now Owen battling for 5th place already side by side between the 2 McLarens and them. They seem okay getting out of the trouble, usually from turn 1 to 4. But now we go to turn 4, where there is trouble. George losing places. JTK losing places. Kibu's been involved in trouble. Invade's collected too. He's got no front wing. And Goggy's been collected. That's the virtual safety car. We've finally got a halt to this race already after lap 1 chaos, and it's not going to be the first one or the last one tonight of that for sure. I'm sure there's more that we didn't see there at the back of the field on the start. Blue Goggy involved, Invade involved, Kipu involved, Polo may have got a piece. George, Constantiner effect, he was collected in at turn 4, but you see the tires, softs from 1, hards from a couple. Doesn't look like it's going to be upgraded to a safety car from a VSC. Only halted the race for just a good 30 seconds to 60 seconds, so See what happens. Here are your positions gained from the first sector. Beatnik up 1, JNT up 1, Tadpole 2. Wavy, the big winner, 6 places, Polo 2. Your big losers would include JTK, Kipu, Gagi, and Invade, though, from that start. And VSC about to come to an end, it looks like. Green flag back in the air. You saw Gecko had to take evasive action not to run in the back of the Red Bull Bonkers. And at the back of this grid, I think they're all just gaggling with one another. Leighton comes to the pits. He has a front wing missing. Goggy might be next. He does not. Invade does, though, because he's got no front wing as well. And now, battle for 9th place. George in on the action, side by side, making contact with Tadpole. And here we go. George is going to be the one coming out ahead on the run to turn 4. JTK realizes that, backs out of it, doesn't cause collision, but no backing out here between the run on our hands for 13th place Shanghai ahead of Kipu. Yafatari repairing the front wing. DRS going to be enabled next time by. And I'm not surprised to hear that Invade has rear wing damage as he backed it into the wall earlier. So still a long way to go. 24 laps left in this event. And in all honesty, with the damage you have, Invade, still a lot could happen. And it ain't over just yet. We saw one VSC, one halt to this race. Might not be the only one, like we said. Here's Owen trailing Beatnik by just 2/10. That Williams does not have the straight line speed compared to the McLaren. But Owen, a lot of talent here this season so far. 5 wins. None in that car. Beatnik now sending it at the final corner. Inside of ex-teammate Valkyrie. And Valkyrie holds on to the place. Now Owen wants it in the mix. How about 3 wide? Gonna split them both. Valk in the middle. Valk concedes both places. Owen still on the inside. Beatnik gets ahead. Now Valk, she's side by side with Owen. Can she come out ahead now? No, Owen comes out ahead. Owen will take the place. Valk down 2 places. Gecko just trailing our race leader by 4/10. Looks like we got a race on our hands up in the front of the field, though, compared to the recent weeks where we haven't so much on the opening laps. But now, further behind, George picking off the pieces. He's ahead of Hunted now. After what was a poor start became a better start, it looks like. Got hit at turn 4, so hopefully there's no rear wing damage there. For those of you new, like I was going to say, just the rear wing damage from people like Invade you see already just kills your race. And Owen has DRS applied now to turn 22. He can't make the move here. But up in front of that, Gecko's got DRS on the run to turn 27. We're already seeing some action. Here goes Gecko. Inside line. Both wanting the DRS here on the main straight. JNT also going to pick off Valkyrie. Valkyrie almost hitting the back of her Academy teammate. Oh, contact with the wall. Now for the race lead once again. Bonkers trying to hold on. Gecko's the one attacking. Gecko's back out in front, though, in an RPL race this season. This time it's in Saudi. And they're all just jockeying for position on the main straight. JNT sends it down the inside. Valkyrie still side by side. Owen getting Beatnik. Now further on back. George going to try to pick off the pieces too. 2 and 1. Can we see this happen? Here he goes. These two made contact before. Valk and George have. Side by side on the S's. You don't usually see that happening. And somehow, Valk's ahead. 2 Astons went side by side there. They figured it out. But George now has to find another way past Valk. Side by side further behind that. Hunted gets JNT now. He's up a place. Hunted also making the most of it too. Further up in front of that, Beatnik and Owen, I think, are trying to pull away and not allow it to be a DRS train with Valk in it. George has now picked off Valk because Valk's made a mistake, and now here comes Hunted. And Invade out of this race from rear wing damage. Invade, hope you're showing proof for that, though. JNT, Hunted, Valk, 3-car race to this turn in turn 22, and there's contact, and Valkyrie's around, and she's out of this race. The first retirement on track comes at the expense of contact, and now 4 cars under a blanket now in turn 27. My goodness. Tadpole's out in front. Wavy changes spots with Shanghai. Big race to turn 1, but the race lead is now closer. 2/10. Hunted, picking off the Academy teammate of Tadpole. JTK wants his opportunity. Kippu with an opportunistic move down the main straight, picks off both Aston Martins. Five laps in, and we've already seen chaos. But no safety car, only one virtual safety car and 2 retirements. It's unfortunate because besides losing those places, Valk was having a really good run. Trying to go for a second Tier 1 podium tonight, or sorry, Tier 2 podium tonight. Doesn't look like that'll be the case. Wavy and Shanghai continue to play DRS chicken here. Hopefully it helps him, but they're not gaining any time to the Red Bull of Kippu. Oh, Owen clunks the wall, I think, but that may have been lag. We'll watch out if that was or not. I don't see any front wing off that car on the right side for the M plate, but we'll keep a close eye later on. For the lead, Bonkers is closing the gap, but he can't find a way past Gecko. Hunted up a place on George, and now Bonkers gonna get up a place on Gecko. 2 Ferraris have just been overtaken in the last 15 seconds, and this one is for the lead. Bonkers back out in front. Owen. Ding dong battle for 4th place with Beatnik. George with Hunted. There's battles all over on this circuit, and it just is not gonna stop. Pitting is Shanghai, and this very well likely could be for damage. And I think it is. I see a front wing out there. Yes, front wing being repaired. Little mistake from Gecko is kind of put him further back. Might put Zatsy into DRS here if they're not careful enough. Hunted and George, 2 championship rivals from Season 10 in Tier 2. Right now battling for 6th place in this race. George on the softs. Expect him to pit in the upcoming laps here. But he could be going for mediums, though. We'll find out. He may be the only one going for that strategy, though. Watch out if it does happen. If he can do it in a Ferrari with a car with bad tire wear, fair credit to him. Still close for the race lead, but I just don't think Zatsy's going to get anywhere near DRS anytime soon. Beatnik is also trailing Owen by less than 5/10, and now we've got more of a race behind that between George, Hunted, and Tadpole still ongoing. Gecko and Bonkers seems like they've saved battery quite a bit for the lead. Doesn't look like it's going to come into play too much. And how about Hunted being brave before turn 1 inside line? That's going to be his. Going to give George the squeeze. George has to back out. It's Hunted's place now for P6 in this race. Further on back, we've got Kippu and Wavy on the race to turn 1. Kippu in the Red Bull qualified poorly. He's going to need to gain places. He knows what's at stake. If he does well tonight for Red Bull, he will get more opportunities like this rather than a driver like Blugagi or others. So he's got some pressure, but also not too much pressure because he's not full-time in that car either. DRS still between Gecko and Bonkers, and we got a crash. Polo is self-spun, and now it's a safety car. His front wheels are missing, and this is halted the race, meaning this will definitely affect pit stops, no doubt about it. And now, our first stoppage of this race fully. Let's see if any of the top 7 runners pit. I include George in that conversation being a part of softs. Front guys are in to go to hards. They were going to pit soon anyway. But now if you're Beatnik, Tadpole, JTK, what kind of decision do you make? Let's make sure everybody enters within the white lines. Seems like everyone's doing just that. Seems like everybody's in. Tadpole speeding. You don't want to do that. Blue Goggy was thinking of staying out right there. I saw that. But would have been really silly to do so. Some people will maybe make this a 2-stop race now. Mediums can go the rest of the way with the safety car being out, but I just don't think everyone's going to do it. George is the likely candidate, being on PC with better tire wear. PC does give you better tire wear. Cross-platform league to remind you all. Kipu's not happy due to the lack of speed because of getting floor and diffuser damage. Well, that stuff stays with you for the rest of the race, which is unfortunate. So while we're under safety car, let's remind you all of some things here in RPL. Tomorrow's action continues at 3 Eastern, 8 UK time. Will be in Monaco. Formula Endurance continues their lovely marathon tier on Sunday, 2 Eastern, 7 UK time, in Hungary. And if you're wanting to know where we're gonna be next week for the race, we're in Silverstone in the UK. We're coming home to England. I say coming home because it's a lot of the drivers' home races here in RPL. And I think someone who's going to want to go there would include the likes of Polo, Valken, and Vade after the way their races have went. Unfortunate end to their races, but it happens sometimes. Some days you get the better end of the stick, some days you don't, and Polo still pointless this season so far. And Vade only 1 point to his name as well. So, not good from some of these guys, needing some good runs tonight. I feel like anyone going to the mediums who are not on the hards like George, or simply just going to the mediums regardless, quite bold. But I give you credit. Because with the safety car, it does help you make the rest of the race without a puncture, but let's find out. Let's find out if they get a puncture or not. They're the ones risking it. The guys in the hard tires, they will not get a puncture most likely. We saw the risk of tires in the Tier 1 race and getting punctures because of a safety car around this time. However, didn't happen. We saw tires falling off the cliff though. So, there's that. There was guys losing tons of time because of the tire wear. However, now you have to beg the question, how much will it affect these guys? People like JNT and Goggy and JTK, who were a little bit farther back at the start and kind of hindered here, while they're back in this race. Having some good runs for slower teams. Yeah, this really does beg the question, why, if you're Gecko, why are you on a new set of mediums? You have to change, for those of you not aware, you have to change tire compounds to a different one. You see mediums and hards from Bonkers, you see hards to mediums from Beatnik, and softs to medium from George. Gecko's went the same tire, and he's going to need to change to either softs later on due to a 2-stop, which is what I thought of earlier, and or gonna have to go to hards if this was a mistake. Safety cars in this lap. We'll get back to racing here in just a moment. Bonkers in control. Let's see what he does. And you know what? This invites Owen to the podium for Williams. They are the only team in all tiers, Tier 1 and Tier 2, and you can add Endurance as well, the Endurance tier, not to have a podium this game cycle. Let's find out what Williams can do tonight in RPL. Tier 2 once again. Race leader is Bonky. He controls the pace. And we're just waiting for him to be back on the gas. Will be very soon. I'll be banking on another safety car. Maybe I can add a poll in the chat, hopefully. We'll find out. Back to the green flag we go. Bonky now going to try to break the toe here that drivers would get following behind him. You got Beatnik trying to make moves already around the outside at turn number 1. Further back, there's an AlphaTauri. Here's Beatnik almost making contact with Owen. These two have come together previously. ETSR Layton's in the penalty club now. Gecko already challenging for the race lead. Gecko right in the back of Bonkers. Hot pursuit right here of the lead. But remember, this is going to be crucial for Gecko to make the most of it because he's got to change tires. Gecko around the outside. Layton's out. Gecko takes the race lead. He is up to the top spot once again. And Layton, can't tell if that was a retirement on track or not. I think it was. Well, this is not the first time. And you're not supposed to retire on the track. It could cause issues, but we'll find out if anyone submits that into the steward's room for Layton to be penalized. Beatnik on the move. Makes the place work. He's up to 4th. Overtake done further back with Tadpole in Shanghai. Who I did find out is actually from Shanghai. George also with Hunted. Picking them off one at a time. The top 3 is also close now once again. Bonkers trying to take the race lead back. Can he do it with that Red Bull straight line speed? It's a very powerful car in a straight. He's got the upper edge right now on Gecko, but not in terms of places. We got side-by-side action for 6th place. We've got further on back, I believe Tadpole and Goggy, who were trading places further on back as well. JTK just ducking out, trying to find his breaking point. Because you are following in one another. You can't really see it too well. This is very true. If Gecko is going to stay on these medium tires and make this work and hope for another safety car, needs to find a way to put Bonkers in places which will kill his tires. This is exactly right, coming from one of our guys in chat. George as well on the back of rival Owen. These two have history too. Ferrari a faster car than the Williams, so Owen should be getting overtaken here soon. Further on back, you got JTK trying to overtake Hunted. That's quite interesting there, to say the least, of Williams on a McLaren. Battery being used from George. Trying to find ways past Owen. Owen not managing his battery as well as he would in a Mercedes. Further on back, we've got places that are being close to one another for an overtake. But now, George, I think it's the closest one in this top 8 area. It's the car in front, using battery now. Gecko leads this race. Bonkers closing, but not enough yet. We got action further on back. Shanghai is going to take the place over Bulgogi. Bulgogi trying to make the move around the outside, and they come together almost. This is for the first couple places outside of the points. When Gecko does pit, this will become P11, and then if anyone else makes a mistake, this could become P10. The last position for points. Hunted on the charge. P7 is now his. You got to make the most of it. Almost being halfway now. And JTK, I think, wanting some revenge. Just not close enough. You think so? You think Bonkers will pit if there's another safety car? I am interested to see. It depends on how many laps are left. JTK back on the move. Hunted getting split by 2 cars now. Kippu giving the squeeze. Around the outside is Kippu now. And Hunted. Can Hunted remain ahead? He's got the inside line, preferred line for the last corner, but Kippu gets the exit speed and will go ahead for now. How about in front of that? 2 previous teammates, Beatnik and Zatsi. Now it's Beatnik onto the podium. JNT and Kippu. JNT, Kippu, and Hunted turn 1. Hunted losing tons of places. Not his race so far, that's for sure. Hunted up to up ahead of Kippu now, excuse me. Hunted also with JNT following. Tadpole backs out, having to do so following these train of cars. It's just all kicking off here on the restart here. Couple laps in now with DRS enabled. Pitting is Shanghai. Exiting the pits is Shanghai. That was wavy for P12, almost clonking the wall. And I've got to say, I think for a podium, we've got a race on our hands. Kipu also in the thick of things, battling further on back with Hunted, and now Tadpole in the mix too. But we got to go to the race lead because Bonkers is closing and not close enough still. Tadpole ahead of Hunted. Tantalizingly close into the last sector for contact. How about Hunted? Switchback time. Here he goes making the move. Up in front of that, you got George. Oop. Getting a little squeeze from Owen. George now going to try to pick off two of them. Maybe. Zatsy locks the rears. Contact to turn one. Almost more banging on the exit between two cars. And George will pick off both of them. Fair play to him. On the reverse strategy. Spinner behind. It's wavy. Oh, Hunted at the wall. Hunted goes wide. And almost in the path of Kipu. But Kipu now into the points once again. I told you that turn 4 wall is tricky. And it caught another one tonight. Thus far. J&T is now up a place on Tadpole. And now Tadpole gets that back. Tadpole using the right side to his advantage there. Getting the exit speed in the bank corner. More yellow flags. That is for Wavy once again. In some trouble. But I think trouble is speaking to 9th place here because no contact yet. But a race on our hands with Kipu and J&T. The lead is close, but nothing close to a move yet. It looks like we got a move maybe being made for 4th place now is Zatsy. Battery being drained from Zatsy. Can he find the time to get past George in the train? George gonna look. George gonna duck out. Not enough. Gonna make Beatnik panic here. Just not enough. Yellow flags further on back. It's Wavy once again. Hunted is in the pit lane. So he may be getting a repair on that front wing. Yellow flags again for Wavy. No front wing. Just trundling back to the pit lane here. I think he's retiring. J&T also getting the overtake done on Kipu. While we're at it, Wavy is out of the race. That's in the pit lane. Is Bonky close enough to make a move here? No, he's not. He's just not close enough. I think he's saving a bit of battery because Bonkers is forcing Gecko to use a bit of that battery. He had a look. Not close enough for this race lead. Everything still remains the same. And again, I think we've just had a collision between Wavy and Goggy that caused Wavy to go out of this race. And by the way, a change in the lead once again. Bonkers now takes it over. Oh, we got Beatnik locking the rears and almost going around, but George, a little contact made there in the wheel-to-wheel racing. It's gonna be his place, George's, and now Beatnik 3rd to 5th. Zatsy up a place once again. Oh, Zatsy off the road. Zatsy made a mistake. That will help Beatnik for sure in this race for 4th place. But I've got to give a lot of credit, though. I really do. Owen right now making a good candidate tonight for driver of the day in Williams. I know JTK's had a really good run in his return to racing here in RPL. 7th place, much better than his Red Bull days thus far. But, Owen, I don't think we see this too much of as a surprise, though. You know, he ended up getting demoted to Williams. He's already raced this car in Tier 1. But the fact of the matter is, he's in hot pursuit for a podium right now. And Gecko will take back the top spot. It's going to be his, but he needs to pit once again in this race, and it's going to come soon here. No doubt about it. It's now. Gecko's in. Bonkers takes the lead with ease. Zatsy on the back of George, which will now become 2nd place in this race. He's going to take that spot. Little DRS games here, swapping one another. Once again, JTK and Tadpole, I believe, on the main straight, making some moves further on back. But yeah, 2nd place was just 3rd place. Now it could become a little bit easier for an Owen podium. Gotta get to the points for AlphaTauri. They desperately need that. Williams double points currently. Looking for their best result of the season. I think with Gecko pitting and being a part of this train with Owen and Tadpole and JTK's battle a little further on back does make it a little bit easier. But I'm going to quickly go AFK for just a moment. We'll watch this train still as Gecko and Goggy trade spots. Gecko on soft tires, now going to be on the charge. This battle for second's not over yet. We'll be back. Yellow flags, that is Shanghai. The cause of them. And I apologize, folks, for going AFK, but my bladder is hitting me really bad tonight. Usually I can hold it better, but not tonight. Tadpole, the only driver now in this race left with a penalty, and it's for track limits. You know, the Tier 1 race was pretty bad, I think, with track limits for some folks, but tonight has been a lot better than our Tier 1 running of this race not too long ago. Just want to remind people of the winners from round 7. The last 2 seasons. Alex Bear for Ferrari, Minions for Red Bull. First time winners in Tier 2, both of them. I don't know if we'll see one or not tonight, but if Bonkers can hold on, he will be winning for the first time since the end of Season 9, which would be greatly for a guy like him to, one, have a chance at a championship over Owen, who's in a worse car than him now at this point in the season, and for 2, to help Red Bull in the chance for constructors, which is now very possible with the Mercedes change with Valk. Or not Valk, sorry, Valk and Zatsy. Valk with Wavy originally, but Zatsy and Owen now. Excuse me. Gecko, fastest lap. He made a move on JNT in the process, so that place will now be his for 9th. Softs might not last that long, although that's true. He will make it the rest of the way on them, so it's fair to go to softs, but I just don't think you're going to be enough for podium then. You're not. You're going to be close, but those tires will be so worn by then, I just don't think it will happen. Bonkers has a sizable gap, though, for this lead. Luckily, this DRS train is not trading spots. They're not costing themselves time by doing so, so they look like they're going to work together a little bit here. to try to catch Bonkers. .7 that gap. It's staying consistent. Props to Beatnik as well, though. Not the best of showing for McLaren last week. Not the best of places for this car to be handling. But I have to say, for Beatnik's sake, though, a podium would be nice here with another team. And I think Tadpole has just had 2 screen freezes at once. Enters the pit lane now along with Kipu. And I think Tadpole's retiring. We just caught that on stream. Kipu's onto the softs. Front wing damage. Tadpole does not have front wing damage, but he's pitting for the softs, believing he cannot make it the rest of the way. And if these guys do not believe they can make it the rest of this way, it's now up to George, Beatnik, and JTK to do so on those medium tires. I agree with you, Minico. I think Bonkers does have it covered here. But, once again, you can't lose a lot of pace, though, on those hards because you got a hungry herd of cars further on back who are not going away. I mean, they're only losing a tenth at most each lap. We'll find out if things will work out for Bonkers, though. Again, like I said, we've not had a champion, or sorry, a non-champion win this season. The last 7 races in Tier 2 have been made up by drivers who have won RPL championships to win. Tadpole in Tier 2 in Canada. Owen, 5 of the first 6 races. He's won 3 titles in Tier 2 previously. And then Hunted, who won the Tier 2 title at the end of last season in Brazil. Won in Brazil for Red Bull. The last time Red Bull won. They've not seen the top sub of the podium since. They've had a struggle to start of the season. But Bonkers trying to turn things around. Zatsi having to defend. It's going to cost them time. And this will give Bonkers a good buffer as of the current moment. The DRS train all the way back to 5th. It's gone to Owen, who's 5th place. Zatsi with a penalty. Now George likely could be safely on this podium. And Zatsi's using the runoff. He's made a mistake. And Owen running the back of Beatnik, wanting to make the move. But he also lost time too out of the exit of that corner there at what was turn number 12. I think that's tricky for Zatsi and Owen here. They're in cars with a lot of lack of straight line speed. So when you do have a chance to make the move, when do you make it? Because you know you're just going to get overtaken in the next straight. However, I will say Owen now, finally, for the first time this race, is playing it safe in the DRS, or sorry, the DRS and the ERS game. But now moves being made. Beatnik around the outside. George coming with a lot of speed, and Zatsi got caught off and now gets punted off. He's now down to 5th from 2nd place, and now we got a race for the podium once again. Beatnik up to 2nd, George in 3rd, and now Owen trying to take a podium for Williams down the inside. He's gonna make the move at turn 1. It's up to 3rd place for Owen and 2nd place for Beatnik. Wow, that just got chaotic. Further on back, Tadpole got Kipu for 10th, the last point spot. If Owen can finish tonight, right now he's running 3rd. If tonight he can finish this race in the podium, big upset for Williams. But if he could do so, it would be the first time for that little team who just sees no good, it seems. Down to 5th, yellow flags, I think maybe for him. He's had trouble. Yellow flags for Shanghai. Owen's had an issue, of course. But if that little team can finish on the podium, first time since Jack Miles, Season 6 Belgium. And we got a car off the road. I think that is a lap car. That is Shanghai running into more trouble. Owen ran into more trouble. It's put these guys further on back. So now Beatnik will secure 2nd place with ease as of the current moment. Zatsi coming hard. I don't think he's too happy with George. George gave him that punt earlier on in the last corner because Zatsi threw a block that was just not necessary and was very late on that block. Here comes Owen, a lot of overspeed, makes the move. Up to 3rd place in this race. Down the inside is Zatsy. He's still trying for it. Contact made for a split second, but Owen holds on to third. And that straight line speed's going to hinder him, so George will have a run and a chance back at it for turn one. Here he goes! Around the outside. Can George take this place? Side by side for turn two now. George with the preferred inside line will now have the outside line for turn three. A little bit of banging made, but George... Oh, inside of one another. I was gonna say he was prevailing on the outside line, but now, third to fifth, Zatsy takes him on. And Shanghai, one of the cars retiring in the pit lane. His day is done. Tadpole trying to get Kipu on fresher tires. Now Zatsy using the runoff, just trying to hold on for fourth with that penalty, and might be losing that to Gecko soon here, who's catching up on the new fresher soft tires, which are going to be wearing very soon. And just George just pushing Zatsy along here. Still is not over. Zatsy trying to protect for fourth place. Battery being used. Contact made. George up to fourth. And Zatsy has a chance with DRS now being his. George does not have that DRS though, because he's lost a second to Owen. And now Zatsy around the outside will take the place for a moment. But George holds on once again. Oh, he loses it. He lost the rear. And now has to concede fourth place to Owen. And now that puts the teammate of, or sorry, fourth place to Zatsy, excuse me. But that puts the teammate of Gecko in DRS for just a moment. Gecko might just make it for P4, but I don't think it's going to be a podium. I think it's too little too late. Now the teammate of George has to get out of the way. He does that for the teammate. Tadpole and Kipu trade spots in the main straight. And Gecko. Is it too little too late to hunt after Owen, who's got third place secure for right now? Or is it just the perfect time? Gecko riding all of the back of Zatsy. He needs to make the move soon enough here, Gecko, if he wants to fight after Owen on fresher tires. Zatsy trying to protect for the teammate and his own car, because it is Zatsy's academy, but Gecko will take the place. JTK's caught up too. Zatsy will have DRS, so he has one more chance to overtake in a turn 27. But now we start the final lap with Bonkers leading this race. Gecko uses a bit of the brake to allow Zatsy to take it right there to play DRS chicken. Zatsy backs him up, and now we'll see some spots trading on the main straight. Gecko pulling out, trying to take it. George following suit. He's got a lot of speed, but can he take it by turn one? No. Gecko up to fourth. Being used from Gecko to try to defend, but is it enough still? Obviously, Zatsy with that penalty, it's going to cost him, no doubt about it, but can he at least hold on to fifth place on track? And Owen has Gecko closing. But if Owen gets caught up by DRS here on this last straight, coming up for DRS these last two straights, it could be game over with the lack of Williams' straight line speed. And we still have a battle for ninth place. Blue Goggy, fair credit to him, hunted with a penalty. The last 7 races have been won by a champion, but today, Bonkers is going to change that. He's back on the top step of the podium for the first time since the end of Season 9. Bonkers conquers Saudi Arabia. He wins for Red Bull, back on the top step for them. B-Nick, 6 seasons in a row on the Tier 2 podium, and give it up for Owen on the podium for Williams. The first time since Season 6 Belgium, they've done it. And a photo finish between JTK and George. It's still not over. Tadpole and Kipu. Hands down, Owen, driver of the day. What a play. And now we still got racing. It's going to be Tadpole losing out on penalties and on track. And now Goggy demolished at the line. He will hold on for P10. And Hunted trying to go for fastest lap. Bins it. And that's it from the race. Red Bull, McLaren, Williams. And now for the first time this game cycle in both tiers, Williams are on the podium. The first time in all tiers since Season 6, Tier 2 Belgium. And that was the last time in Tier 2, but fair enough to Owen. The championship leader finds a way still. Wow. Bunkers gets to celebrate here in Saudi Arabia. His first win in over 15 races. Red Bull's first win of the season. How about that? Beanick keeps the streak alive. At least one Tier 2 podium in the last 6 seasons. And Owen, take a bow. I mean, that is driver of the day worthy. That is impressive. The second slowest car in this game just finds a way once again to get on the podium with a driver with so much capability now that he switched to PC. Beanick, can I say it? Can I say it without the term being overused by somebody saying it? Williams heritage. They're on the podium. Owen, fair credit to him once again. He held on. He did everything right. Gecko and George run out the top 5. JTK, Zatsy. Here are the rest of your runners from tonight. Fastest lap went to Tadpole. Goggy in the points, Kipu in the points. Not the best of showing for Red Bull with Kipu, but they made it work with the win for Bonkers. What a race. What a race on our hands tonight in Jeddah. And you know what? Only one safety car. Not too many DNFs. I think this was a decent race, to say the least. Wow. Well, yeah, Zetzi and George making contact caused a lot for Beatnik and Owen to take the places. But my God, I cannot believe I've seen it. All 10 teams this game cycle in both tiers, Tier 1 and Tier 2. You could add Formula Endurance. But at least in one of the tiers, we've had all 10 cars on the podium this game cycle. I can't believe it. I mean, the last chance that Williams probably had for a podium in both tiers, I would say, was last season in Singapore under the lights. But Beatnik struggled in the last couple laps and just costed himself for it. I think with the way that it transpired for Beatnik, it probably wasn't going to be a podium, but he was in contention in that race in Singapore. You know, he raced for Aston Martin in Qatar, got a podium for them. Now a podium for McLaren in Tier 2. Fair credit to him. He's got some pace in this car, and it's showing he's not totally washed. And Bonkers. You know, he sat out last season. But this season, he's back on the top step. Fair credit to him. We've got more racing on our hands this weekend. 3 unique drivers in the podium. 3 unique teams. Red Bull, you know, they're the fastest car in this game, and they took till the halfway point to get on the top step. Fair credit. They finally prevailed after all the struggles this season. Top step for the first time this season. They keep the streak alive of winning in the seasons of RPL. Bonkers winning. Red Bull back on the top step. A driver who was not a champion previously winning for the first time in 8 weeks. Beanick, consecutive seasons. McLaren, second place for them. They needed that run after their stretch of races, which have been rocky to say the least. And Williams for Owen. Williams as a team. Owen as a driver, the championship leader, being demoted to a slower car and still finding a way. It's insane. Your championship leader is going to continue to extend the gap over Gecko. I can't believe I'm saying that. I can't believe it. I can't. I really can't. I can't believe that. I laugh at it. Well, look, we need to end the stream. We're on to tomorrow. And tomorrow is Monaco for F1. Formula Endurance is on Sunday in Hungary. And next week, tune into the action once again, folks. We'll be in Silverstone. It's coming home to England. And we had a British driver, I believe, in the top half of the podium, technically. I know he's Scottish. British area. Okay, fine. I know I'll be corrected, but he'll be happy to come home to England. Either way, tune in next time here in RPL. We'll see you then. Until next time, folks, Ryan Searles signing off. Have a good night. We'll see you then.